Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to start something a little bit different. I'm going to be starting a series breaking down the book Fast Like a Girl by Mindy Pelz. This book is specifically directed for women with polycystic ovary syndrome, also known as PCOS, women using IUDs, the hundreds of thousands of women who are struggling with infertility. These are all women who need to adjust a fast to their specific needs. If you want to follow along with the rest of this book, subscribe to my channel because I'll be releasing a video once a week, diving into each single chapter that I read and simple spark notes that you can understand. Even if you have no background in science or nutrition, you'll be able to understand what we're talking about. But before we dive into this book, I do want to also explain why I am choosing to read this book in the first place. So, before you click away, I also just want to say right now, I have never been a huge believer in like any sort of diet. If anything, I usually cancel all of them. It includes spending your money, it includes taking your time away, but this particular approach doesn't require either, and I just think that's so wonderful because this allows a lot of inclusivity for women who maybe don't have the money or the time. You can do this. I would like you to take this book as a piece of hope that there is a clear way path out for you, not just having to take birth control or not having to cut down your calories and track everything you eat. It is much simpler than that. That tool is fasting. And although the tool of fasting is not some new health concept, in recent years, people have discovered fasting is one of the fastest ways to bringing themselves back to health. The reason why most diets don't work is because it is not sustainable long term. It affects your metabolic levels. There's lots of science that I geeked out on and I loved, and I can't wait to share it with you. Women's health, it is something that is not educated on enough. And I think the more people and the more girls that I can share this kind of knowledge with, the more people that I can help and maybe feel less alone in the struggles of hormonal imbalances, PCOS, endometriosis, or just really absent periods, whatever the case may be for you. You're trying to lose weight, you have health conditions. Sometimes the most simplest solutions is when you eat and not necessarily what you eat. I'm really excited to share everything that this book has to offer. Callie, my girl, you need to take a seat. Yeah, okay. More in depth on also what this book truly offers you is metabolic health, from weight loss, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, inflammation, and lowering cholesterol. And we also have scientific evidence that fasting repairs your gut microbiome, improves neurodegenerative diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's, reboots the struggling immune system, and can power up happiness, neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and GABA. So this is my 100th attempt to finding answers to my own hormone imbalances, mood swings, irregular periods, and diagnose PCOS. Talking a lot about how the approach of fasting can help many women. And I am someone who likes to really self-educate because doctors won't do it for you. And therefore, I decided that I would take it upon myself to learn more about this topic. So for many years, I struggled with irregular periods, painful cramping, raging PMS symptoms, depression, anxiety, excessive hair growth, and painful acne, along with many other symptoms. And guys, whenever I say hair growth, I'm not exaggerating. Like, I admit this because I know there are women out there who have that, and it's nice to feel like you're not alienated in a sense that, geez, maybe I'm not the only one with freaking black chin hairs that I have to pluck out every single day, you know? And not to go on a tangent on my chin hair, but I just want to let women know that everyone would be self-conscious of. Like, I'd be pulling down my car drive mirror thing, and I'm like, the sun's reflecting on my skin, and I see all of these like hairs growing, and it makes me really insecure. Like, I carry around a tweezer on me all the time, and I even carry around these like tiny, gentle little blades Like, I'm genuinely shaving my face out in public. I'd be at a red light, oh, let me pluck out a chin hair. All that to say is I've experienced many erratic symptoms all my life, and I never knew what the cause was. I would be working out at the gym and all of a sudden, sharp pain for no particular reason, not before my period, just a random Tuesday and glocked by the freaking cramping. When I went into the doctor's office, I shared all these symptoms and I did say, hey, I think I might have PCOS or something. And I was told that I self-diagnosed myself, and because I was not overweight, that I did not classify as someone who has PCOS. I'm not going to go in specifically on that, but after passing 2 more years of all these incorrect symptoms, I went back into the office, and instead of gently reminding them of these, I said, hey, I'm getting blood work done. I don't care what your opinion is on it, but I'm getting my blood work done. I was even told and discouraged to go get this done, that it was a waste of time. And long story short, my blood results showed higher testosterone levels and high DHEA hormones. And if you're not familiar with that, that is the male sex hormones. Then I also, because that wasn't enough confirmation, I also had to get an internal ultrasound done to confirm that I had several follicles that were way too many for the normal person. And then they finally called me and said, yeah, you know what? You do have PCOS. And I was like, and so finally, after years of self-education, understanding my body better, tracking my cycle, researching and advocating for myself, I was, I guess, finally validated for what I knew and felt all along, which, it's kind of sad that I had to do all of that just to be heard and be like, oh, okay, yeah, no, you do. My bad. So then I was recommended to go to a gynecologist. So I did book an appointment. I waited 4 months. And when I finally got to this appointment, the conclusion to my symptoms was to band-aid it with birth control. I fear that what I expected would happen from this appointment came true. Many questions got dismissed, and when I asked what I could eat and how I could exercise and how I could prevent infertility, I was provided nothing. I straight up asked them, what are the steps that I could take to prevent infertility? And she responded with, that would be a question to revisit when you're ready to have kids. I was deeply disappointed this time around, just due to the fact of how anticlimactic this whole process was. I mean, I had waited at least 2 years to find the courage to advocate for myself on getting blood work done. Then they asked for an ultrasound. That's my coffee machine cleaning itself. And so then I finally get to this specialist who's supposed to help me, maybe some more advice than the direct pill form, and I get completely dismissed and not taken seriously. So yeah, it was a little upsetting. And please keep in mind that I am now 23 years old. I have tried birth control. I don't live under a rock. I understand the resources that are available at my fingertips, and I didn't go through years of back and forth with my doctors, booking appointments, getting blood work done, deep diving into my own health for a specialist in women's health to tell me to just take a pill. And I want to be clear before I move on. Birth control does work really well for women, as well as other contraceptives. And I am not here to say that it is bad for everyone. I'm not here to say that it does not work. But as for myself, it didn't go well. From 16 to 17, 18, I was on birth control. And during that time, I experienced a lot of depression, weight gain, crazy acne, crazy PMS. It's challenging as it is to be a teenager, but then slap on even more complicated symptoms is just diabolical. And that was when I decided to stop taking it. Then later, I was recommended to try an IUD. That ended up being worse. I had that removed about a year later because I wanted to try and give it the benefit of the doubt, as they so said. Looking back, I do really wish that I understood my body better, and I also wasn't naive, but that's just not my fault because I unfortunately wasn't informed of the side effects. Because while birth control and IUDs and other different contraceptives can mask your symptoms, it does not always address why those symptoms are happening in the first place. And this is a personal take as well, but I do think the positive stories of contraceptives for women are typically the women that don't have alarming symptoms to begin with. And the women who have bad experiences with it is because they're genuinely going to the doctors with like the craziest list of symptoms, and they're like, yep, here you go, here's a pill. I don't care if you came out with a new birth control that's supposed to be better. Like, after I removed my IUD, I lost my period for 7 months. And her implication of telling me that when I'm ready to have kids, I should just stop taking birth control and we can figure it out is mind-blowing to me, because it's like putting a Band-Aid on a problem that you don't know the direct root of the issue, and then just hoping and praying that when you get off of this birth control pill, you're still going to be able to get pregnant. You can't get pregnant if you don't have a period. I've lost my period 7 months later, and I just think it's crazy. Every single person is different, and I think that's the main point I'm trying to get across. Sure, I want to have a regular cycle and bleed less, have less acne. It actually turns out to work great for some women. I believe our body reacts for a reason. And while we are maybe taking medication or told to put an IUD in, we should also be taught to learn how to listen to our body and practice functional medicine. So if you're seeking answers to the questions your traditional doctor won't help you with, I really hope this recap helps you understand your body better as a woman. And now coming back to the reason of why I'm choosing this book is because I recently watched listened to a podcast from Mari Llewellyn, The Pursuit of Wellness, and she had Dr. Mindy Pelz talking on one of her episodes. And it was really interesting because she was talking about fasting and how our hormones interact with food timing. And that statement alone led me to go directly onto Amazon and purchase her book, because I am just so deeply invested in understanding the why behind that. If you are a bookworm who enjoys a handheld book instead of audios, I will link the Amazon affiliate link so you can also buy this book online. Link in the description. Hi, Callie. Say hello. Say hi, Callie. If you are someone who has not gotten the answers that you are looking for from a doctor, I hope this series helps you understand your body a little better too. So this first section of the book focuses on something called the failed 5. Why modern diets do not work, especially for women. The first failed 5 is calorie restriction. Callie? Okay. The classic advice that we always hear is eat less and exercise more. The problem with this approach is significant decrease in your calories can lower your metabolic set point. And your metabolic set point is essentially the range of calories that your body uses to maintain its weight. When you out of nowhere dramatically decrease your calories, your body will adapt by slowing down its metabolism. When you decide to return to eating normally again, your body can regain weight very quickly. The second issue is food quality. About 40 years ago, obesity was a huge concern. And the response was to ultimately remove fat from our food sources. When food companies removed fat from all of these different foods, it lost a lot of taste. And so they had to compensate by adding extra sugar, extra additives, just to basically make the food taste better. And this basically created a huge rise in processed foods. And these foods contribute to something called insulin resistance. I'm going to give you guys a simple explanation on how insulin works so you can understand your hormones better. You can think of insulin as the sugar storing hormone. Think of it like this: glucose, the sugar that you ingest from an apple, for example, is the food that is trying to get into your cells for energy. Sugar equals energy. But in order for the sugar glucose to enter your cells, it needs insulin to escort it inside. So this is a really crazy analogy, but pretend glucose is someone trying to enter a club. Insulin is your valid ID check, driver's license, health card, whatever you want to call it. And the cell is the club. And we all know if you are over the age where you can legally drink, you can't get into a club if you don't have your ID. When everything is working properly, insulin helps glucose enter the cell to be used for energy. But when we consistently eat high sugar processed foods, insulin levels stay elevated. And eventually, the cells stop responding to insulin. Therefore, when your glucose can't enter the cells, it has nowhere else to go but to be stored as fat. The third factor is cortisol, another hormone. This is our stress hormone. When your cortisol rises, your blood sugar rises, insulin rises, and fat burning slows down. Another important factor to keep in mind is that extreme dieting and excessive exercise can actually increase that cortisol levels to go up. Interestingly, your body doesn't even know the difference between getting chased by a lion or being stressed about a presentation you have next week. Your body interprets both as a survival situation, which means your body's going to shift into energy conservation mode. For women, this is especially important because our body's designed to procreate and carry a baby. Therefore, a little interesting fact to go along with that is if your stress levels are overly high and you have really hormonal imbalances, your body does not feel that it is safe to conceive or have a baby in the first place, and that can play a factor into infertility. For me, I think this is extremely important for women to recognize because whenever I went in for my appointment to see that gynecologist, one of my questions that I asked her was, knowing that PCOS can affect fertility, what are some steps or actions that I can take right now? And she said that would be a question to revisit when I'm ready to have kids. And in the meantime, that I can just patch it up with birth control and figure that out later. And I just want to say something because I do think there is something wrong in that approach. Those problems are not going to disappear. They're just going to reappear back into your life. You're going to have to unpack years of ignoring what your body needed. Just something for you to keep in mind. So the fourth issue that is discussed in the book is obesogens. These are chemicals that can disrupt hormones and promote fat storage. I'm going to read them off of my laptop because they're kind of hard to pronounce. Well, at least some of them. But here are some common examples that I would like to include. So the first one is BPA plastics, phthalates, atrazine, organotins, PFOA. That's the last one. And these chemicals can be found in plastics, food packaging, cosmetics, cleaning products, cookware, and they can interfere with hormone receptors and affect everything from your insulin, thyroid hormones, metabolism, and a lot more. So, yeah. And fifth one is the one-size-fits-all dieting. That is truly the issue. We are often told that there is this one perfect diet that will solve everyone's problems. But the reality is that women's hormones change constantly throughout the menstrual cycle, which means our bodies do not always need the same foods every single day. For example, estrogen. Estrogen tends to respond well to lower carbohydrate levels. Progesterone needs slightly higher carbohydrates. And if you are not familiar with the whole menstrual cycle, your progesterone levels rise right before your period starts. Therefore, a great explanation as to why we crave carbs and chocolate before our period begins. So the idea behind this book is that women should adapt their eating and fasting patterns to their hormonal cycle. So that is all for the first chapter. And one thing that I really liked about it so far is the idea that your body is not working against you. Even when symptoms can feel frustrating, your body is actually just trying to communicate with you. It's trying to tell you something. And if we can learn on how to listen to these symptoms, we may be able to improve our health in a much deeper way. So that is my breakdown of chapter 1 of Fast Like a Girl. In the next video, I'm going to go deeper into how fasting affects women differently from men and why Dr. Mindy Pelz believes that women should fast based on their cycle. If you're interested in following me on this journey, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next parts to this book. If you've ever struggled with your hormones, PCOS, or feeling like your health concerns are not taken seriously, I would love to hear your story in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. If you are interested in a more in-depth explanation on your hormones, a little more heavy on the scientific side of things, I will also link the Spark Notes that I created of Fast Like a Girl so you can enjoy a quick read of this chapter as well.